Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is a different style of color wheel. It's called, for the purpose of the assignment, a color spirograph, and it utilizes slightly different blending mode and a different basic shape. This is a version from Illustrator. We're going to create something very similar in Gravit Designer for those people who are using that tool, but I just wanted you to get a feel for what it's going to look like when we're done. Okay, so I've got a new letter size document open in Gravit, and at the moment I am zoomed in just a little bit too far, so I'm going to go out to 100%. New letter size document. Into this, I'm going to create my first shape, which is going to be an approximately 2-inch circle. I'm holding my Shift and my Alt so I can do it from the center out. And obviously the Shift part is to make sure it's proportional. If I don't get exactly 2 inches, I can always change it later, but I have actually miraculously gotten close enough there. So I've got my 2-inch circle, and now I'm ready to move on to the next step. I will need to zoom on my circle in order to see what I need to for the next part. So if you don't know where the zoom tools are, you've got the plus and minus sign over here on the left. You can also switch over to the magnifying glass, which is just the Z key all by itself, which will allow you to really zoom in on a particular object. Once I've done that, I'm going to select that circle that I drew earlier, and there's one extra step that I have to take in Gravit that would not be necessary in Illustrator, and this is to go over to my Modify menu, to go down to Path, and if I can not have it leap around on me, go to the option that says Convert to Path. It's going to allow me to get to the individual points that make up this path. Without that control, the white arrow wouldn't give me point level access, and that's what I need now. So again, that Modify menu is critical there. Do the conversion, and then I'm going to click on the point at the center top, and over in the Appearance section to the right where it says Joint, I'm going to click on the one that says Straight. I'm going to do the same thing at the center bottom, and I now have a really wide leaf form that is pretty much the shape that I'm going to work with. I'm going to switch to the black arrow here. I was with the white arrow previously, and with the black arrow, I'm going to stretch this shape upward to make it a little taller, and then I'm going to push it in from either side to make it narrower, and when I'm done, I have my petal or my leaf shape, which is what I need for here. So now that I've got the form or the shape that I'm working with, I'm going to zoom back out to 100% or somewhere in that ballpark so that I can see a greater part of the page. I've got my leaf, and I'm going to be ready to start on the next step. The cool thing with this particular one is that there's a control in Gravit that's actually, once you figure out what the heck it's doing, a little bit easier to deal with for this assignment than the similar step in Illustrator. So we get a brief advantage here. I have my leaf, full leaf shape selected. I can see all of the various properties of the document on the upper right. I'm going to click on the Transform button. And what I'm going to do before anything else is I'm going to make sure, and these are just settings I had most recently, yours is probably going to look like this. So I'm going to make a change to the left-hand rotation option. I'm going to do 30 degrees there. Yours probably also said copy 0. And so rotate is going to be 30 degrees. My copies is going to be 12. Actually, I may need 11 technically. And the other thing I have to do to make this work is I need to put the rotation for this in the center bottom. If you do all of these things, meaning you change the left-hand rotation to 30, leave right hand to 0, you're going to change your copies to 11, and you're going to put your rotation center, so that red dot, in the center bottom option, and then you're going to click on Apply. And what you get is the flower shape that we're going to be working from. That's super easy. I tried this about 10 other ways and was really struggling with it, and then I found that and I'm like, oh, this is great. So this gets us what we need in terms of the basic forms, and from here it's about picking the colors. So I'm going to do my fills and pick. You can pick straight from the color picker if you want. Just keep in mind the color order must be logical, and in general, it's helpful if you think about color triad meaning the red, the blue, and the yellow are going to be your primary colors. They're equidistant from each other, so there should be 3 petals in between each one of them, basically, that form the secondary and tertiary colors. Once you have your color triads in place, you can put in your others, meaning and I really dislike the green that comes up in the color picker, so I'm going to tweak it a little bit, but I'll put in my secondary colors, which are the ones that are halfway in between your primaries. So my green, my orange, and my purple are going to be the ones that go in between. And those aren't terrible. And then you fill in with the tertiaries, which are the ones that are a mixture of, and as you can tell, I'm not paying attention. My brain is clearly not working real well because my orange and my purple are in opposite positions to what they ought to be. Whew, that would have been an interesting attempt to mix color there. But anyway, once you have your primaries, which is, again, your red, your blue, and your yellow, your secondaries, which are your orange, your purple, and your green, you're going to have your tertiaries, which is a mixture of your primaries and your secondaries. And those will give you, oops, and again, it's really helpful if you have the correct shape selected while you're trying this. A very blue-purple is what I need for this, and so forth and so on to get all of the various and sundry colors that are necessary for these guys. Isn't that awesome somehow? Almost there. Okay, so I get all of the various colors that I need. This is not the final version, however. If you sort of remember from that one, there was some transparency to it. And that actually is fairly simple to create in here. So we're going to select the petals. I can't remember if it does let me do them multiples at a time. So I'm going to select all of my petals once I get the color in there, and I'm going to change the mode that currently says blending from normal to multiply. When I do that, it keeps the hue, which is the color part, but it drops out the opacity, and it makes it as if, you know, imagine sheets of semi-transparent glass that you can see through. And so this is the version we're going for. If you wanted to take it even a little bit further, you could reduce the opacity down to, I don't know, let's say 75%. I don't think I want to go any lower than that, and it makes them slightly more transparent even still. But the first change I made was the blending mode from normal to multiply, and then the second change was to reduce the opacity a little bit. So when you get it to this stage, you definitely want to go ahead and do a save. We probably should have done one sooner. Keep in mind that this save is for you. It's saving to your cloud area associated with your Gravit Designer account. So at the bottom, you're going to need to do the Make Editable, which is that Add Export, which is definitely what I want to do. And then I want specifically not a PNG, but a PDF of this one. And once I've done that, I can click on the export button, which is sort of the page with the little arrow shooting off the side of it. And it'll create it. It's going to call it page 1, in my case parentheses 1, because the previous one was just called page 1. You'll want to rename them after that probably, so you can keep them straight. But that gives you the PDF version of your project, and that's what mine looks like. And that particular one is now complete.